Hey, everybody. We are so glad to be with you. Welcome back to another episode of CSUN Performance Ensemble presents A Conversation with ... My name is Jefferson Denim, and I'm one of your co-hosts.
And I'm the other co-host, Fernando Martinez.
Fernando Antonio Martinez.
Yeah.
And I threw that in because I'm going to introduce our guest with her middle name, Trina Marie Villagran. Is that right, Trina?
It's Villagran, but yeah.
Villagran. So I got the Trina Marie part, but the Villagran sucked. Okay, Villagran, now I got. So Trina, we are so happy you're here. What pronouns do you prefer?
She, her, hers.
She, her, hers. Got it. So for our audience and for Trina too, if you watched any of our episodes, you know that Fernando and I are big believers in the idea that our life experiences influence and inform not only who we are, but our art. So anything that we create is usually born out of our life experiences, and that's no surprise. And so we are fascinated by life journeys. We just think they're so cool. And so, Trina, our conversation with you will be divided up into 3 parts. All right. So we're going to start with Act 1. Act 1 will be from when you were born to middle school. And then Act 2, we'll talk about middle school through college, which you've just graduated. And then Act 3, we're going to focus a little more on performance ensemble, your experiences with PE. Sound good so far?
Yeah, sounds great.
Villagran. Trina Marie Villagran. So I'm going to ask you this. I ask everybody this. When you hear your middle name, do you feel like you're in trouble?
No, actually, when I hear my full name, I feel like I'm in trouble. So
that's Trina's what I mean.
Shortened version of my name. My name's actually Katrina. So when I hear Katrina, I like panic. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So
I guess
if you
the middle name too. You're right. It probably would be full name.
Got it. So Katrina, when you hear Katrina Marie, you've done something.
Kind of like stop little. I'm like, oh.
Okay. Well, now we know how to get your attention. All right. So let's start with Act 1, Trina or Katrina Marie. Let's start with when and where were you born?
I was born June 26th, 1991 in Sacramento, California.
And so that means you're a Cancer. Don't you hate that?
I'm a Cancer, yeah. You know, a fun fact about my birthday that I'm honestly like just recently realized is that like my birth date and year are both a palindrome. So if you know what that is, you know, it's the same thing forward and backwards.
Right.
So like my birth date 626 and then my birth year 1991. It's like the same forwards and backwards. I'm like, it's so weird, but
there's some magical thing, and I believe all the stars aligned on the day you were born. So you have some special magic dust on you. But don't you agree that I wish we had a better sign? I'm a Cancer as well, but I just feel like I'm the good Cancer. I'm so tired of saying Cancer, but the good Cancer.
Yeah. You know, I like to say Moonchild. Because then it feels like a better connotation and more loving, like we are, you know. I'm just like, yeah, it feels less like harsh. So you're a Moonchild, fellow Moonchild.
All right, my fellow Moonchild. So let's talk about where you were. Okay, so we know the palindrome of the date you were born. Where were you born again?
Sacramento.
In Sacramento. So did you grow up in Sacramento? Your whole growing up years?
I did, like Sacramento County. Like a lot of I grew up a lot with my grandparents. Like I did have my parents live with my parents, but my grandparents took care of us. So, and they lived in Orangevale, California, and my parents' house is in Folsom, California. Both of those are like in Sac County. So it's just like all around that whole area.
That's wow. How wonderful is that? So did you have both sets of grandparents?
I did, yeah.
So tell us, because a lot of people don't have that luxury, I would guess.
Yeah.
So tell us what it was like what was your relationship like with your grandparents?
I was like really, really close to my grandmothers because they particularly took care of us a lot. Like it was like halfway through the week, we would be split up over like who's taking care of us and carting us around to school. And so like, yeah, a lot of my early memories like are, I remember everyone's cars very specifically because I was being like carted around, even though it was like literally 5 miles away. But I just remember like having to get up so early, and my mom or dad would drop us off at my grandparents on their way to work. So it would be like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be all like grumpy and have all of my things. And yeah, so we would spend like mornings there, and then they would take us to school. And then after school, they would pick us up. And then, so it's like, yeah, just like long hours. My parents were working a lot. So we were with our grandparents like all the time.
And so what were the cars? You say you can remember them vividly. Tell me the cars.
Vividly. My grandma, Chelly, what's her nickname? Her name's Celia, but we call her Chelly. Her car is a Dodge Caravan minivan. And she like had like a super lead foot. She just like smashed in that thing. So it'd just be like all of us grandkids and just like flying around. Like in my mind now as an adult, I think back on it like in a much more animated way than it really was, you know, like it's kind of almost like cartoonish in my mind now, like the Magic School Bus or something.
Right.
Stupid. But my other grandmother's car was like a Buick Skylark, and it was like two-toned gold coloring. I remember it so vividly, and like hearing the like AM radio scratching in there, whatever she listened to, like KFBK something, I can't remember. Like, yeah, it just spent a lot of time being carted around in those cars with our grandparents, so that was a good time.
Actually, I love that, you know, you've got grandparents who are really involved in your lives. I mean, an active participation in your growing up. Now, when you said we, do you mean you and your siblings and your cousins? What do you mean? What's the we?
Usually me and my brother. So I have two brothers. But usually just me and one of my brothers, because the other brother is like a bit farther apart in years and wasn't around with us as much. But yeah, usually me and my brother, and then sometimes on my dad's side, my cousins. So it'd be like my brother and I, and then like a bunch of my cousins. So it's like, just depends. It's just kind of always rotating, but we were at grandma's house all the time.
Now you have, okay, so you have two brothers, and where are you in the pecking order of the siblings?
I'm the baby.
You're the baby.
Number 3. Yeah.
So that means you're spoiled. Okay. So no. Does that mean you're spoiled? Did they have? Did you get away with more because you were the baby?
I don't think so.
Sometimes the baby does. How would you?
Yeah.
Okay. So as the baby, how would you describe yourself as a kid?
I was a very serious kid, like super serious, quiet, cautious. I didn't really like trust people very readily. Like whenever people came around, I don't know, that sounds weird, but like, yeah, I just was very cautious. I was always like kind of observing and big eyes wandering around and just kind of like, who are you? What are you about? And like sizing people up. I don't know.
Well, your grandma's driving. Your grandma's driving probably made you feel a little more apprehensive about life, maybe. But that's interesting that you felt like you're always sort of analyzing people and soaking them in. Do you feel like you were more just kind of like, how do I put it? Not a detective, but you're like, you're not so much someone that jumps in right away. You're someone who has to assess the situation and get the best sort of like view of things. Would you say that's true about you as a kid?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was always observing.
Has that continued through your whole life?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very observant. It's just something that, I don't know, kind of have to like take my time to get comfortable. And then when you find a comfort space, I'm just like, oh, this is home. I'm moving in. Got
it. Now, how would you describe like any stories? What would illustrate you as a kid, do you think? And I'm talking about, say, up till the age of 10. Do you have a story that might really say, okay, this was really me. This was Trina/Katrina.
Ooh, man, I don't know if I can like pinpoint a single story. That's tough. I don't know. I just recall being very, like I said, cautious of everybody, and then would hide behind like my mom's leg or something. Like I'd have to get comfortable with new people. But then once I had, like, I don't know, once I found people, it was just like really comfortable. I don't know. I can't describe it. It feels the same as like how I feel PE as an adult, but we'll get into that later.
We will get to that. So what did you think?
Like when chosen family, I guess you could say. When I found friends, we were really, really close.
So there was a vetting process for you.
Unconsciously, I guess, yeah.
Before you let them into your chosen group, you vetted them to see if they were trustworthy. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, as I think about that as an adult, like it feels very much like it was kind of my defense mechanism for being like in a predominantly white community and being a person of color. It just was like kind of a defense to like know like where you stand with some people, because I don't know how else to best explain it, and it's like a complicated conversation, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. But I love that
conversations around
insight.
race, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
I think those are conversations that are worth having. But I love how you had this sensibility as a kid to really kind of the insights that you had, and then looking back, recognizing those insights in you and how they were born in you and how they're continuing to this day. I don't think it's bad or good. It just is. Fernando, you got a question.
Yeah, no, I wanted to pry into that a little bit more because, as a fellow brown person in this video call, I was lucky to grow up in an area that was predominantly POC, right? So like I never really felt out of place. But what was it like growing up in Sacramento? Because I don't know what it's like over there demographically.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you? And were you aware of those things when you were younger?
Yeah. There's definitely pockets of Sacramento that are much more POC, but like where I grew up, it was like a suburb, and it literally was like a street where all the brown people lived, mostly, for the most part. But in the same town, later Intel came in. So Intel was right across from like my high school, and then there was a lot more like Southeast Asian people that came in, and then so it brought like a little more diversity. As far as like Latinos, there was like literally on my street was all of the Latinos practically in the whole town. So that was definitely interesting. And yeah, I did feel it. I did feel it a lot growing up, being like visibly like darker than everybody else, and it was like always attention was brought to it, so it definitely was. It was interesting to be like a little kid and just kind of navigating these spaces and being like, how come certain things, but not knowing how to ask, or like not understanding. And so it was definitely, like I said, probably added to those things, and it was interesting. I think I just found like really a lot of safety with my family and was really close to them. But like I also did feel some of those things in my family too, where it's just like, I don't know, I think old school things, and like I've told some friends this, where it's like just different things with like colorism exist in like every culture. So like being the darkest one in my family, I remember sometimes like people being like, oh, like don't play outside, or come here Mihan, like chill, because you're gonna get too dark outside playing. So just things like that like they would have effect on you, when you're slowly like realizing that it's like there's all this attention to my skin color all the time. And I was just like, it just was weird. I don't know, as a kid you just don't know the right questions to ask for that, or why that is, or something. You just kind of like sit back and like you're like, all right.
Now, right. Wow, I love that. Again, as you're processing these things, and Fernando, thanks for that question, because I think that we all have, I think when we first come onto the planet, we are learning, how does society work? How does this world work that we live in? And how you're describing how you're, Trina, how you're looking at the way the world is being presented to you, and then processing that. I'm thinking that's really kind of profound. Let's segue then into school, because I would imagine that's where you're experiencing a lot of this, you're different than me kind of thing. What did you like school?
Not really. I mean, I didn't not like it, but I didn't like it either. It just kind of felt like this aimless space for me, honestly. I was just reflecting on this the other day, that it felt just kind of like this place where you go when like all the adults are busy. Like I didn't really
Kind of like babysitting.
But like, because I never, as you know, I never had babysitters or daycare or anything like that, because I was with my grandma. So it just was like this other space. So it just felt kind of like playtime or something. I don't know. I didn't really, it's like nobody told me I should take it seriously, and so I didn't.
Now, so while you were, let's say in elementary school, is this where you did you ever experience overt racism?
Yes, I did, but more often it was like, coded in microaggressions and stuff, and so people would like kind of gaslight me and be like, that's not what happened. But yes, I did experience overt racism.
And
And it
then
was just, yeah.
when it was happening to you, I'm sure it must have like made your head kind of go tweak. So how did you, when you first were experiencing it, how did you make sense of it? Did you think it was somehow your fault? Did you blame yourself in any way?
I don't remember at the beginning. It just happens like over time. Like over time with like a lot of experiences, then get to a point where you're like, oh, hold on, like I'm starting to like tell myself the things that like were told to me just because it's just like happening, when it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like it was just all that like bad, negative. Like it was, I had an abundance of experiences, but yeah, like kind of a blanket experience. It's like on the foundation of it, like these things did affect me.
And I think this is important to point out. I love that you said what you said, because I think most people think, well, there was no like fireworks kind of overt racism, but I think it is subtle. I think it does kind of happen in little stages and as you put it, microaggressions. That's the reality of racism. So to be able to describe it the way you did, I love that, because it gives us a clear picture on what it really does look like. It's not always the guys with torches marching. It's happening in these little microaggression situations. Now in your elementary school age time, what would you do for fun?
I was alone like a lot when I was playing, I think. Mostly like, okay, I've always loved music, and so I would like play music and make these like little concerts and stuff. And I had this like Selena Barbie, which was like pretty much the only Barbie that I had. And it was a collector's item my grandma gave me, and you're not supposed to take it out of the box, but oops. So I would set her up on this like shoebox and then have all my stuffed toys, because I had like more of those. Those were like my jam. So I had all the stuffed toys to like listen to her, and I would like sing along with songs and stuff. And I don't know, I like to sing and just like make up little things like this. So I did that a lot, unless it was like playing with my cousins. There was a couple friends down the street, but like our neighborhood was really much older. Like there wasn't a lot of kids on my street. It's like it was young when my oldest brother was a kid. So it's like booming with all these kids on the street and families and whatnot. And then when it was like came around to me, there was like a couple kids down the street, and most of the part the kids had grown up, and people stay in their houses a really long time there.
That's really interesting, because I think a lot of people that we've talked to, Fernando and I have talked to, both on these video calls and also privately, most kids had kind of a private sort of imaginary, a place where their imagination could really grow, right? Because you were by yourself, but you created this great little thing. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of stuffed toys did you have? That was your jam, you said.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just have always liked animals. So I think that's why I like them so much, because it's just like so, like, I can't even recall, honestly, just like so many different animals. And it's like for so long, I remember I would like put them all like lined up against the wall on my bed, and like that's where they took up space. And then my mom's like, this is ridiculous. There was just like so many of them. And she got me like this little hammock to put in the corner so they could all hang out in the hammock, because it was just like, they were I don't know. I just thought the animals were cool. I still do.
Oh, now do you still have them?
No, who knows where they are now? Like, I really don't.
Did you see Toy Story? They're pining for you. They're probably under your bed in Sacramento right now with it. Let me do a little tear. With a little tear.
It's
No,
heartbreaking.
No. Okay, so let's move on into middle school. Now, middle school typically, Trina and dear audience, can be a time of great heartache and pain. Oh, am I revealing too much about myself? Anyway, so I want to know, when you got to middle school, and what is it in California? Is it 6, 7, and 8?
It is, yeah.
That's what it is in Chicago too. All right, so you get out of elementary school, now you're into middle school. What happened to you? Tell me your story of middle school. What do you think of it when I say the words middle school?
I cringe. Like, okay, it fits the bills for everybody else. I just cringe. I'm like, I just thought my life was a tragedy. Like, I had to wear this like mouth guard. I don't know. I had this like issue. Oh God, just horrible. I had to wear this mouth guard, and they're like, it'll be clear. They said nobody will tell. It'll be fine. They
But
said.
wait, what was the issue? What was the issue that you were correcting with a mouth guard?
I had TMJ like really bad, I guess. I don't know. I guess like I really don't know where that comes from. But that's a whole nother story. Maybe grinding your teeth. I'm not sure. Don't do that.
What's
Important safety tip, audience. Don't do it.
What's TMJ?
What was it? I don't know. It's just this thing with your jaw that like it cracks. I don't really know. They had to wear this mouth guard to correct it. So before I had braces, so I had to wear it like all the time. But it was just like it was like the Coke bottle glasses of orthodontia. Like they were like, it's clear, nobody will be able to tell. But like my mouth couldn't physically like fit over it because it was so big. So it was just like really, I was like all awkward with it all the time. And then people were always like, what's in your mouth? What you got? And I'm like, oh God, that was like every interaction. It was awful.
Was this all through middle school?
No, actually, to be fair, that it was only 8th grade.
Okay, but 8th grade is right when you're kind of hitting your prime. By then, you were the oldest person in the school, and
yeah, so
right, and so you're supposed to be hitting your stride there, and all of a sudden, oh no, let's put something in her mouth.
Yeah, you're supposed to be cool, and I was not.
Okay, so leading up to 8th grade, do you have any memories of your classes, of the things that you like to do? Was it all a horror story, or?
Well, I went to 2 middle schools. I started out 6th grade, 6th and 7th grade at one, and then I moved to another. So there's only 2 middle schools in Folsom, so I went to both of them. And
well, how come you moved? What was the deal?
The first one was just really generally awkward because, as I told you, I have 2 older brothers and they both went there. And so whatever trouble and havoc they wreaked while they were there, like kind of trickled down to me, and like just had like really unfortunate, like, it was just like I'm coming in and the teachers are already judging me. So I was just like, this sucks. And then, I don't know, I just started getting in trouble. And so then I went to the other one where I had some friends that were from my neighborhood. So it's like, I don't know, it was just like, I was like weirdly in the middle of both of them. And so, yeah, I don't know why I didn't go to the other one to begin with,
Yeah. And it feels like when you move like that, it's hard to develop a root system, isn't it? Like all of a sudden you were the new kid in 6th grade. And now I'm the new kid in 8th grade, right? So was it?
No, I didn't move. I knew kids at both of them. It's just like where my house was placed and how they like separated, like how the city separated who needs to go where. I was like, I could have gone to either one because I was like right kind of in the middle.
But you had the choice to change for 8th grade then. Is that what you're saying?
I kind of got in trouble. So then they just like,
Fernando, do you hear? Trina's kind of holding back. Katrina Marie.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I don't remember, honestly.
Oh,
I really
bull.
don't. I think
Baloney.
it was just like a collection of things. And I think the reason why I told you about my brothers being there previously is it was like sometimes that was thrown in the mix. Sometimes it was just me. I'm going to take that responsibility. But
right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like all the teachers already like knew that I was like part of this family and they kind of didn't like it. And yeah, it was a whole thing. Put it this way. For one of my brothers in 6th grade, we had the same 6th grade teacher, but for him, he got there and got in trouble with her. And then my mom just like took him out of the school and then I stayed there. So it's just like, I have no idea. That's a whole nother thing. But
okay. So
we had like the teachers were just not having it with the Villagrans.
The Villagrans, and they knew how to pronounce it. Okay. So
no, they didn't. That's
and they didn't even know how to pronounce
untrue.
it.
No,
okay.
they said, oh my God, I've heard all kinds of crazy
Please
things.
tell it, because yes, tell us some of the mispronunciations. I'd love to hear them.
No, the ones that really get me that I'm like, those letters they're not even there. Like what? Like people say a lot of times like Villagram with an M.
That's pretty solid.
Is it? Like it's an N.
It actually sounds like a scientific measurement.
Yeah.
That's what I've always said. I was like, it really does. Maybe I should invent one so then I could.
So every first day of school, did you like brace yourself? Like, I'm going to have to fix this. They're going to butcher it.
Honestly, I'd never really fixed. I would just let it go.
Let them do whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So then because they chased you out of town, you go to 8th grade at a different school. And now, okay, so when you get to high school, so let's go into Act Two. Let's segue out of the mouth guard, was that just 8th grade?
That was thankfully just 8th grade, but you know, it left lasting scar. Like it was bad. It was enough to share to you that it was just bad.
Now, just because it was so awkward to have to wear it and explain it, and you know, as you know, audience, you know, these are the formative years when you're just desperate to fit in, and you don't want to stand out in some weird, awkward way. And am I describing this right, Trina?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so that's what makes it so difficult. But here's the thing, and we found in these discussions, I think maybe there was 1 or 2 that loved middle school. Most people, that's just really a tough time. And so you're not alone. All right, so then you get out of middle school, you escape from middle school, and you get to high school. So now where did you go to high school?
I went to Folsom High School. Everything
Okay.
was a little town, Folsom. I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but it's like the home of Folsom State Prison that Johnny Cash sang about. So they like really hold on to that Johnny Cash.
Is there like a plaque with Johnny Cash in the lyrics or something?
It's Johnny Cash everything. They've made a trail recently that they like dedicated to him, and like I don't know. There's just like a lot of things, and I'm like, y'all, he wasn't like from here. It's just
I know.
He came here and sang at the state prison. Yeah, Fernando. What's up?
Fernando's got a question. Yes.
Yeah, and it's not even a good one. Is there anything else that Folsom is famous for?
The lake.
What?
But it's not. I wouldn't really say it's like famous. There's just there's a lake in the town, and like there's tons of rivers that flow through Sacramento. So yeah, like it's just like bodies of water. Everything is bodies of water.
Being from so it's a smallish town. What is the population there?
I'm so bad with numbers. I'm sorry. Like I don't.
That's
even
okay.
know.
Well, let's just call it a small town, right? It's a small town. Did you feel like growing up in a small town that everybody knew each other's business?
Somewhat. Like it wasn't so small that everybody, but like a lot of people. Like I don't know. It was. Yeah. And it's like this super like safety little like suburb kind of feel, which like I honestly think is like this really weird overcompensation to get people to want to like live there and make it look nice because there's a prison in the town. Because the prison's like literally right there. Like my parents' house is a mile from it. So I feel like it's like
that is pretty wild. Was there ever, while you were growing up, were there ever escapes or anything?
Yeah. Only a couple times, but yeah. So at one point it was a maximum security, but now it's like, I don't know if it's I don't think it's minimum, but it's like medium, whatever.
Okay,
I don't know. They changed it, but in any case, I'm just guessing. I just think that they make it feel like really overcompensate with the safety thing of it to like contrast that.
Right. I gotcha. Now, when you were in high school, where or anywhere along this continuum that we've covered so far, where do you think, or when did you think you kind of found your identity? Do you know what I mean? Like as a kid, you identified there's things about you, you were observant and you took things in, but where do you feel like your identity as a person solidified? Was it in high school?
I'm still looking for it. I'm still growing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I ever felt like I was like, this is me, or I know this, or I didn't have like a thing. I was just always searching, and I still feel that way a little bit, but I feel like I'm getting closer to finding a thing. I don't know. I don't have like a thing that's like, I've been practicing this my whole life, or I'm really good at this one thing, or I don't know. I'm always just kind of like trying all sorts of different things.
That's a great answer, I think. That's a great answer, you moon child, you. How would you, were there any teachers or anybody in high school that you felt like, wow, they've noticed me, or they were kind of influential, they kind of gave you some confidence, or maybe the opposite, maybe they gave you a hard time? Were there any teachers in high school that you have a memory of in that way?
No, honestly, like I didn't feel really close to a like teacher, mentor type person until I got to community college. That was the first time that I felt like just really, really seen and like cared about and like invested in by an educator. So that was like really, really late for me, and just really, I don't know, it's weird to look back on now because it feels like I've had it for so long, just from like the outpour of love that I have gotten from mentors since. So community college was a wonderful experience. Probably spent too long there, but it was great. And it was not
You,
even
me,
like
and Fernando also did. I think we all did that
Yeah.
that journey.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get back.
It.
Oh, because we're going to get to community college. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because Fernando and I are also community college people. And I think a lot of people might feel that, oh, if you go to a community college, it's like the less desirable track. I found it the best way to go. And we'll get, like I say, we'll get to that. And I want to understand your journey. But staying in high school, do you remember, and maybe it happened before high school, do you remember the first time that you fell in love?
Hard-hitting questions. It's a hard-hitting question.
Yeah, they are. I don't know. I feel like it was somewhere in senior year, and it was like happening towards I don't know. I started dating somebody at the end of senior year, and then you start feeling this like senior year magic that you're like, oh, we're going out into our lives. I don't know. It felt like just summer. We were going into summertime, and summertime's like my fave, probably because I was born in summer. I don't know. Like, so probably around then.
So you fell in love with somebody. Was this the first serious relationship that you had?
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's summertime. What did he do for your birthday?
I don't even remember.
Nothing memorable, Fernando. Now, was he your first kiss?
No.
Okay. So if you don't mind
me, you guys both give me a look.
No. But it just makes me want to ask this next question. What was your first kiss?
Also, don't feel like it was something memorable. I don't know. It was
Trina Marie.
Well, no, not that I remember what it was, but it was like we were playing like spin the bottle, and it was just like a random person. Like it was like, I don't know, just being kids, you know, and being
right.
like somebody always suggests that or like
of
truth
course.
Or dare.
Right.
So yeah. Unfortunately.
When you go ahead, Fernando, you were going to say something.
That just seems like something that you only see on TV. That was my contribution for the podcast. So.
All right.
I know, well, doesn't it? No,
okay,
so right. It feels kind of cheesy.
That does happen. No, it's awesome because it's your story. So what lessons
it's like full
do
of cliches
from your high? Do you have any? No, because they're true. You know, not all cliches are bad, especially if they're born out of something legit. So I'm going to say, or my question to you then is, do you feel like in any relationships, I'm not going to count the spin the bottle as a relationship, but any relationships that you had, are there any lessons that you feel like you've learned that you kind of take with you?
Yeah, I definitely feel now like I wish I could have told my younger self that like you could set boundaries and that you can cut people out. Like you can stop being friends with people. That's okay. Like you don't have to continue being friends with somebody just because you started out being friends. Like sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes I don't know. I just wish I could tell my younger self that because I feel like I felt like you couldn't. And so I would just hold on to certain relationships that like maybe weren't really that great for me or that other person.
I think that's profound because I think you're right. A lot of people feel like they don't give themselves permission. Would you say that's right, Trina? That they don't give themselves permission to do something that's actually healthy for both people, to walk away from something. I think so many people didn't. So let's get to your sweet spot then, which is actually before we get to community college. How were your grades? How was school looking for you, say, by the time you were a senior?
Not good. I did okay, like ish throughout. I don't know. I pretty much failed in freshman year a couple things, and then had to go back and redo them as a senior, which ended up being like really weird, like old. I guess it's like the story of my life that it's like on this different timeline we'll go back to that though. That I don't know. So that happened, but for the middle bit, like sophomore, junior year, I was doing fine. I was getting by, nothing crazy. But then they had econ and government that you had to take in senior year, and you took it only in your senior year, and you had to pass both of them or you didn't pass, like you didn't get to walk. Well, surprise, surprise, I didn't pass government, and then I didn't get to walk, and it was like the most devastating thing to me absolutely ever. And now I'm like over it and I forget about it. I went to the graduation to see some friends, you know, but like, yeah, I walked a couple months later in the summer after I finished that course, like retook it in the summer. And then, so my graduation was in like our cafeteria at the school. And mind you, our class was like huge. So there's like, it was like the largest graduating class. They actually built another high school in the town right after that. So like I had watched my friends graduate in this big, huge thing on like out on the football field. And then we graduated with like, I graduated with like 13 people or something in the cafeteria. So it was definitely like, felt disjointed and not like the experience you're supposed to have. And so then I was hoping to get that in college, and here we are. Like,
right. So
I didn't get to, yeah.
No, finish what you're saying. You didn't
No,
get to.
I just didn't get to, I didn't get to walk. Didn't get to like, I wanted to like show my parents like, oh, look, I finally like did this for CSUN, and then we didn't get to walk. So that was like kind of a thing to get over and be like, oh, sorry, you know, the
Right.
world, I don't.
Yeah, I know. Well, think about the whole world is yet, like you said, is going through that. So coming
Yeah.
out of high school then was not necessarily the strongest academic experience for you. You didn't necessarily love it, it sounds. So why did you decide to go on and go to community college?
I felt like I had to. So I still didn't really, I didn't really understand like school and the importance of it. I just feel like nobody had really told me that like, you should take it seriously and like you can do it. So I just didn't really, I was just meandering. I felt like, oh, this is what you do. You're supposed to like start going. And I didn't obviously go to like a 4-year. I didn't even know like anything about that process, honestly. Like no one around me was doing it. I didn't have anybody in my family do it. I didn't know. Like,
so that reminds me. So you were the only one in your family. Your brothers didn't go to college. Did your parents go to college? Anybody go to college in your family?
no, both of my parents went to like a little bit of community college, and then my dad went to trade school. So no, like I'm the first one to graduate college.
So you say you were meandering, and I'm not going to take that away from you. I think you probably were, but you were actually you were trailblazing too. Is that fair?
Yeah, sure.
You're trying something new. Your family didn't really know that this
Yeah.
was a possibility, and you were trying it out. And I think that's badass, if I may say.
Thank you.
Hey, so Folsom Lake Community College. What was okay, now you gave it a little bit away, but now let's get into it. What was your experience like there?
Like I said, I was meandering. So I like started and took only a couple classes, and then I stopped going for a while, and I was like working, and yeah, it just, I kind of wasn't focused, and I didn't know how to focus, or I had no like end goal in sight. Like I didn't know what I was doing or even how the structure of higher education works. Like I was like, what degrees am I here? Like, how does it, like, I didn't know how anything worked. So yeah, I was just kind of taking classes that like I was told you're supposed to take, and a little while.
You said though that at community college, people kind of stood up and started mentoring you. How did that happen? What did that look like?
Yeah, well, I was searching for somewhere as like community, if you will, and I joined choir, and that's where it happened. It was the choir director that I became close to, and I took some music courses just out of like elective and interest. And yeah, I started I stayed in choir, and it was like a community space where I could make friends, and I started like talking to those friends and hearing what their plans were, and then like started going and like digging into the research to understand, okay, like what can I do? How do I do it? And like asking those questions. I started to get more grounded in education and like taking it seriously and getting good grades and just like valuing it more.
So it wasn't necessarily
from that experience.
making you think, oh, I'm going to be a professional singer, but it did get you more encouraged to connect more with other people and with the whole process of the education process. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I love choir. It's something that like I feel was like did that in a way in my life, because that's literally what happens when you sing with a group of people. You like literally connect, like you're creating these frequencies and like you harmonize, and it's like it does something. It makes you just feel really, really connected, and like I don't know, it makes you happy, serotonin or whatever. I don't know.
No,
Something happens.
I'm a choir guy, so I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
Did you bring all your stuffed animals as your audience? No, probably not. So now,
No, that expired.
okay. What I want to ask you though, and I was telling Fernando about this, I saw something online about Rock This Town in May 2018.
Oh, wow, you did some research.
I want to try to impress you, Trina. I want to try to impress you. So Rock This Town, May 2018. What was it?
Rock This Town. So after I met some choir people, I met Patrick, my partner in choir, that choir actually, after being in it for a while. But so that was from a show in a community choir, like not connected to the college. It's like an adult community choir. So I was the youngest one in the group by like 30 years.
Wow.
But it was so much fun.
So it was Rock This Town. Is that what you're saying?
It was so great. I loved all my friends. Yeah.
Awesome. So did you have a solo?
No.
But it feels
There was
good.
a lot of politics, you know. I was like, I just, you know, this is your guys' thing. There's a lot of politics. So.
But this is kind of laying the ground. Yes, Fernando, go for it.
Sorry, how did you even get into that? Like, how did you get there?
It was just through somebody that I met in like a singing class at the college that was like, oh, you should come join this and like audition. And I was like, okay. So I did. And then like, I just ended up staying, and it was like super fun. But yeah, like I said, it's like such a great experience. It was fun. I don't know. I'm a kind of person, I think that you should be able to be friends with people of like all ages. There's something to learn from literally everybody. So it's just like, some of these were really great friendships, like from much older folks, you know?
And like you said, whenever you perform together, there is a real bonding feeling that goes on. All those chemicals that you alluded to in your brain connecting, like, oh, look at this. We are doing this together as a team with all of these different ages and all, whatever. And so, and this is probably, I'm not going to give away the ending here, but maybe a little bit of a precursor to Performance Ensemble, but we'll get to that. So okay, so is there any, before I leave this alone, is there any video of Rock This Town?
God, I hope not. I really, that's how I feel about almost all choir performances, that I'm like, that warmed my soul, and let's leave it there, because we are amateur choirs, and it just. Got it. Yeah, Patrick and I recently went back and watched one from Folsom Lake College, and he was like crushed because he thought that we were a lot better than we were, and he's like, that sounded terrible. And as like a studying musician now, it's just, yeah, I don't know, but it's just something I'd rather not revisit.
Okay, Trina, it was much, much better when you did it, I believe. Oh. Okay, anyway, so here you are, now you're finishing up Folsom Lake Community College, and you're up in the Sacramento area. And did you get your AA degree?
I got two.
So what were they in?
I did, yeah. Yeah, one was like a behavioral sciences one, and then the other one was for comms. Like I don't know, they had some just weirdly close things that I got. So it was like arts, humanities, behavioral sciences. And then another one was more specific to comms, and like it's a transfer degree. So, right. Surprise. That's how I ended up over here.
Well, now, okay, let's get to that trajectory, shall we? So how did you decide then to come from that area to Northridge?
I just wanted to get away so badly. I wanted to have this, like, you know, reinvent. I don't know what I wanted. I was just like, wanted to go somewhere else. And I also, at the time, like I told you, I love music. And so at the time I thought like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere in SoCal so that I can like get into the music industry in some way. And not as like a singer, God no, like I only like singing with people, but like, or a musician or anything. I just thought like, oh, I'm good at talking to people. And I usually like would hook friends up with another person for projects all the time, you know, just like talk to people and know what they're doing and be like, oh, like that sounds like you would really get along with this person. So I thought like maybe that's like a career option. So that's kind of where I started looking at SoCal schools. And CSUN was not my first option. Like
I was going to ask you, what was your first option? What were your other possible choices?
I had my heart set on Long Beach. I don't know. I just think I liked it. I don't know. I just was like, again, meandering around, and I was like kind of going more for like location. Like somebody had told me like, make sure you like where you're going to go, because it's where you're going to live. So don't just take into account like the school and program because you're moving, you know? And so I was like, okay. And I just really liked it there. But then that's how I ended up at CSUN too, because actually Patrick was already at CSUN and I went to visit him. And then I was like, oh, like I really like it here. And then I started looking at the program and I was like, this sounds pretty cool. And so I just like threw in another application, and then it's like, yeah, the rest is history.
So you got into communications because you were a connector, you like talking with people, you like the whole dynamic of connecting people through communication. Now, what when you first got to Northridge, what was your experiences? What were your experiences in the communication classes?
Well, so first I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Sorry. Like I'm always like giving a lot of backstory.
No, go for it. Go for it.
When I first got to CSUN for my, what do they call it? Fresh, like an orientation. It's a transfer orientation. That's what it was. So just so happened to be like the exact time slot that I signed up for. They had some faculty from comms department there. And that was just like by chance, because they would like kind of circulate through like who, maybe it was the art department in this time slot, you know, but I just happened to get the comms one. And I met Dr. Lemuel, and then he was like talking to me about forensics. And then I was like, I don't know if it's for me and all this stuff. And I was maybe going to join, but he's the one that actually introduced me to Jade. So that's like, the second I got there, I knew that I was looking for like another community, I guess. Like I was in choir, you know, I was looking for, but I wanted to like grow more. I wanted something like choir felt very safe. I was like, I did take choir my first semester though at CSUN.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah.
What voice did you sing? What was your part typically?
I started singing alto when I was at community college, and then I sang soprano too in the I don't know, my time with the adult choir really made me grow.
I love that. And you got to go a little higher too. How about that?
Yeah.
So now you came to Northridge in the fall of 2018, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's get to, you met Jade, and what was the first experience you had with Performance Ensemble? This is Act 3, dear audience. We're focusing now, segueing into Act 3.
So I actually didn't meet Jade until later, and like I said, Dr. Lemuel's one that introduced me to her, and like it was right before Caged Bird. So I went to Jade's office, like he literally walked me down to Jade's office, and she's like, oh, you should come see Caged Bird, like this is happening this weekend, here's these flyers. And I was like, cool, okay. So went to Caged Bird, and it was like, to this day, you guys, the most beautiful, like it's so vivid in my mind. Like for each person, I remember like there's something memorable, and it was just like, I just felt like totally awestruck. I couldn't say anything at the end, like you're doing this talk back, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have gone to like multiple nights, because I was like it was so overwhelming, but the show was so beautiful. And so I was like, I gotta join. And I was like, no idea if I can do literally anything as cool as these people, but it's not, I was like, I didn't even care if I looked like an idiot. I was like, I gotta do this. I don't even know how you guys do it. It was just I was totally blown away.
And you had, if I'm remembering right, I mean, going back to when you were a kid, you had this sensibility about you of performance in some fashion, certainly back when you had your dolls, and then when you got into the choir, you got to experience this performative part of your soul. It was now kind of like awakened, and like, how do I plug that in? And so when you saw PE, and then you decided to participate, which was the next semester, which was spring of 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
What did you think of it at first? You just seen the show, you just had seen Caged Bird. Now you're in it. What did you think of it when you first, like the first day? What did you think? How did it strike you?
I was just so nervous, but I was like trying so desperately to be open to it. But I feel like you guys just made it like pretty easy to open up, and we're like so supportive. Like, I still remember in our very first like exercise that we did a writing exercise, and then it was like the first thing that we did to like break out and make something. And Jefferson, Fernando, and Sir all were in my group. And yeah, I just remember that like you guys were so like encouraging. And also in that semester, there was so many like vets, like it would, there was, well, Jefferson, you were there for like the first couple of days, but then you didn't join us, right?
That's
for the
right.
rest of the semester. But like you were there, and
I thought
Fernando,
you guys got it.
like,
You don't need me.
And we just had so many people in there. So I think that's why there's like so many of you guys in that first group. And I just felt like comfortable right away, even though I still was like scared, but I wasn't comfortable. I don't know. I was like, it felt like it was like a place. I don't know. I just immediately got the feeling that I was like, oh, this is a place where you can like explore.
What surprised you the most about being in Performance Ensemble? Was there a big surprise, big aha thing for you?
I honestly, I don't think so. Like it really is just always through the performance, and the experience of it is exhilarating, of how we can like get it together, of how we're like, I love the rush of that like last few days where it's like everybody's freaking out like we don't have it, and then it happens, and it's like that was amazing, and this was like such a cool bonding experience, and we did it. And yeah, I don't think there was any like big aha. It's just like it is exactly what I thought, but like I don't know, just in the like how it was a family, because I saw that like when you were performing in Caged Bird, I saw how close all of you were and how like tight knit, and it was like a family, and I was like, oh yeah, like family is super important to me, and like I want that feeling. I want friends that feel like family.
Do you feel like I'm sorry to cut you off. Did you have more to say there? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, has being in Performance Ensemble, because I know that was kind of a big deal when you were in the choir as well, finding this group of people that you could really bond with and connect with. Has Performance Ensemble changed the way that you view yourself, view society? I mean, we tackle big societal issues or just life in general. Has it influenced the way you look at those things?
Yeah, certainly. I think like in the sense that it's like I don't know. I've always been the kind of person that like gravitates towards injustices, and I feel quite like strongly about them. And I think some people might find some of my insistence about those things a little annoying. And I found that like channeling it through art is a way to do something with that insistence, instead of just seeming like you're being annoying, or not annoying, but like, you know what I mean? Just to another way to communicate it, another way to translate it so that people will listen and not like be like, I don't want to hear what you have to say or something. I think sometimes for heavy issues, like you have to present it in a different way. And I think that doing it through all the different mediums that are in PE is such a beautiful thing, and hearing everybody's like different perspectives and input, like I think it's a beautiful experience. So,
presented in a different, no, it does. Presented in a different way. I think, so tell me if this is right. Are you saying that because you're performing it in a way that an audience can experience it, versus, let's say, so many people now, when you take these big, heavy topics that are important, but usually if you're just keeping it all on the intellectual level, it's easy just to yell back and forth. But when you present it as an art piece, you can actually experience it. And many times you can experience it from someone else's perspective, because it's presented from an artistic point of view. Would you say that's right?
Yeah. Just something about the artistic point of view, I feel like it does, I don't know. Everybody's style is so different, but I'm such a like emotional person that it's usually goes to like feelings, people's feelings. I'm just really empathetic. So it's like, I understand things through the language of people's feeling best. And so I kind of feel the same way about how I'm presenting art. So for example, like in my first piece, the first semester, I just felt that people couldn't access quite like understanding to problems of like incarceration and mass incarceration, because just hearing numbers, they're just like, I don't know, they can't visualize that there's people, like actual people in here with like families, and that it affects your like circle, affects more people than just the person that is behind bars. So I just tried to find a way to express how I was feeling, being like affected, being impacted, as they say, by someone being incarcerated. I was trying to navigate it through somebody seeing him as a person to understand that. And I still like, I don't know. I think as for all of us, we feel like things were never really quite done, like our art, or we always like look back at it and feel like, oh, something else could have, but like, I don't know, I'm happy with it and fine with it, and like hoping that it brought some understanding to seeing incarcerated people as people and not just like these figures, the statistics we hear, or the, you know, it's just like numbers, because then like their literal like prison ID number, and like there's just, yeah, seeing the person behind all that.
Yeah, the number,
so
just doing numbers dehumanizes people in a way. It's just a fact and figure on a piece of paper. I think that's what I'm hearing you say, versus performing it or putting it in your art now makes it a real human being that you can empathize with. Fernando, what were you going to say, bro?
Yeah.
It was sort of just like piggybacking off of what you were saying, Trina. It like, I think that first show that you did, you said a couple of things, right? Like when you were talking about the whole mass incarceration and like showing people what it's like versus just reading data, right? Because like there was a lot of that, like just reading data. But you also mentioned that you were just like, you're a very like emotionally attuned person. And, you know, from, I guess like it's just like witnessing what your progress was like in that one semester, like you, like there was a lot of growth, because I think that in a lot of the beginning you were lost in trying to figure out how to write something. Like you just couldn't, like you had the idea but you couldn't execute it, right? And I just remember, I mean, like I don't, like I'm not laughing because it's funny, right? But it was just like you were so stressed out, like you were,
oh yeah,
you were racking
Fernando
your
knows
brain.
he was there.
Yeah, it like, yeah, like Jade got us to work together because she thought we like did similar things, and so she was just like racking her brain the whole time. And like, I don't know, I feel like you were feeling things that other people weren't feeling, and then eventually somehow like you sort of just broke through and did something that I thought worked so well. Like your piece was so, like it just worked, right? And so what was, and I guess that's just sort of leading to a question, is like, what was your creative process like throughout that whole thing of like just going through some like mania and trying to figure out something, right, for your piece first, and leading to what your piece ended up becoming? Like what was the process for you writing your piece?
Yeah, I think it was difficult just because like I was sifting through like a lifetime of so many experiences that were connected to making up all this feeling, and also because of just fear. Like I was just afraid, and then this is something that like I think is connected to like how I was explaining to you guys that I was always very like cautious of people. As you know, like making art, and especially something that is like auto ethnographic, if you will, or something, I don't know, showing people into your life and your hurt is really scary, even though it's like I, as vulnerable as like I can be sometimes, like willingly, it's scary. So I think it took like some me getting over some of those things, and I would say things to you, Fernando, like they're not gonna get it, or what if they don't get it, or I didn't say it right, or I was just like, it was just too much like fear. And then I really think it took like a conversation with Jade, because I had all these different things written, but they were all so similar. And we talked about that, how they were so similar, like doing very similar things. And then she was just like having a conversation with me about stuff. And then I told her a memory, and she's like, just write that, like literally just write that. And then that's what I did. And the rest of it was like made right there that day. Like I just wrote like memories and put them together with the other things, and then it went together. So it really came together at the end. It took like a lot of like unpacking how it was that I was feeling and what I was trying to say, you know? So I don't know. It eventually got there, and I feel that kind of like manic way of creating was how like any of my pieces have been done, through like a lot of conversations with other people.
What I love about that is just piggybacking on what Fernando said, finding your voice. Sometimes it does, like you said, sometimes it does require you to bounce ideas back and forth on people. That's the camaraderie side of PE, which I loved. And I think you're saying that you love too. I also love knowing, as we've gotten to know you in this conversation, I look at like how you said that you were always observant, and that there's these things inside of you that were happening that maybe you didn't necessarily have access to right away, but Performance Ensemble made you get to those things that were very organic, very authentic, coming from within you. And the fact that you have felt maybe a bit of alone, that can be kind of a prison on its own as you were growing up, and also living in the backyard of a literal prison. I think that was pretty awesome, my moonchild friend. As your first show, it seems like the stars aligned yet again for you to be a part of that kind of show. What do you feel like if you were to tell somebody who's interested in trying it out? Because it is challenging. It's always challenging when you try something new, which is very cool about you, my dear. You were saying that you haven't quite arrived yet. You know what? I would hope all of us feel that way to some degree, because if we feel like we've settled, we stop growing. So the fact that you said you're still kind of growing and you're still trying things out and you haven't arrived, you're arriving, if I can put it that way. What would you tell somebody who's thinking about, maybe they're watching this and they're hearing your story and they say, I'm interested in this PE thing. I'm nervous. I'm scared. Or what? What would you say to somebody who maybe is on the fence about it, but is interested in it?
Do it. Like, definitely do it, because it's like you're going to learn something about yourself and open yourself up to others. And I just think that that's like a well of understanding. Like, how better to learn and understand than from like other people that have different experiences than you. Like, we need more of that understanding and open dialogue that is in that space of PE. Like, I haven't had such open, honest, conversations and interactions with people, and like relationships, friendships with these, that as I have with people in PE, because in other spaces, people, it's just not, people get mad, so it's like, that doesn't happen in PE. I don't know. It's just a safe space where we can like tackle like the nature of the stuff that we do. It's like relevant and important, but like difficult to talk about. But I feel like we're able to create and translate it into something else so well because of the diversity. It's like, whoever you are, come, we need you.
I love that. So is there anything that we haven't said specifically about PE that you thought, we got to make sure we say this? Is there anything we haven't asked you about?
Ooh, I don't know. I could talk about PE forever. I love PE. So I don't know. I will say also, the festivals, that was an amazing experience. I know Fernando has a lot of experience going to the performance festivals, and that's just like PE on larger scale. You're just like, whoa, there's all kinds of PEs. Like, there's a whole world of communities out there for
I think
creating, and that's
right. And
it's
Fernando,
just like bigger, more people. Like, I'm like, yay, let's more people to create with. It was great. It was so much fun.
I think that that's something, Fernando, you could probably even talk about for a second, about how you may think, okay, it's just isolated in this one campus, but no, it is all over the place. And what a cool thing, as Trina was just saying, how cool is it to discover there's even more communities out there that you can, like you said, Trina, you can bond with and you can interact with and be creative with. Right, Fernando?
Yeah, I want to do two things. I want to quickly say something about what my experience is like with that, but then also go back to what Trina's experience is like, because I think something really cool happened when they performed. But the thing that I wanted to say, like on my behalf, was just that it's like what you said, Jade. It's crazy how you think that this is just something. It's like, oh, it's like these super like forward-thinking, progressive people making art about serious and heavy issues. And well, yeah, it makes sense because it's California and it's LA, so it makes even more sense. But then you go to these festivals in the South and you have people coming from all over the country, right? Like, some people are coming from the West Coast too, but like it's people from the South doing the same work that you're doing. It's just like it's obviously situated in Southern politics and what life is like over there. So that to me was really cool. And yeah, I think that if people think that PE is just this like one-dimensional thing, they're in for a surprise to realize that there's so much more beyond just what PE is, and it travels across the country, right? The second thing is when Trina you went to Pedagine, right? Okay, so when you went to Pedagine, yeah, I saw this. Somebody posted a video on Instagram of you guys performing, and is that when you guys were performing out in the? So this festival happens on like a mountaintop, right? Like it's up in the mountains or whatever. And in the video, it was just like pouring rain, and PE just had to go perform outside. It's just, I wanted to hear what that experience is like for you guys.
It was exhilarating. Like, we were all in disbelief that we were going to perform in the rain until we were doing it. We were all like, what? It's raining, it's freezing, this is crazy. I feel it just, we performed, we were the very first school to perform at the festival first thing in the morning, and it's like gloomy and pouring rain. And Jade's just like, yeah, this is what we're doing, because she like told us, we went and like set the space together like right before we performed, like where each piece was going to be. And yeah, we just did it because it was a adaptation of Breach, and how you guys know in Breach that we were directing people through the hallway, had to perform in the hallway. So this was just us directing people through like outside. It was like we started right outside of the lodge and like went through the rain, and then the very last piece ends right with the cliff backdrop, and it was raining, and it just felt really like dope and sinister, honestly, because it was Bailey's piece on anxiety. And so to like end in this dramatic way, and like Marianne was playing Bailey's part really, and like was just like thrown down on the ground, and it was just like, so people were just like didn't know what to think. They were all just like awestruck of like, what did we just see? Like, you guys are out here in the rain and we're wearing like nude, and it's like, it was just like a whole thing. But it was an amazing experience. We got really a lot of praise and a lot of hate. Like, it was just like a mixed bag, because there was like some people that were like definitely kind of like, oh, the Californians, and talking about us in this like sort of way. It was really, I don't know, we all were like, just felt weird about it, because we were like, we didn't come here showing up thinking we were, I don't know. It was just a really wild experience. For the people at Praise, they were just like, the festival is going to remember this for a really long time. Like, one of the professors on the like talk back was saying that they think that it's going to last for like 25 years, that they're like, people will remember like what happened, that we were performing outside in the rain. It was just like really dramatic.
And you know what I love about what you just said, Trina, too, is some people loved it, some people hated it. But that's the thing about PE, you cannot be neutral. And it's going to spark some emotion in you. And I think that's the beauty of it, in that you're going to feel something. And even if you don't understand it and you don't respond in a positive way, it's going to make you think, and you may change your mind down the road. But the authenticity of it smacks people in the face, I think. And it cuts through all the layers of societal norms, and and gets to the, hey, this is an important topic, and we're not going to beat around the bush. And I love it. It's like Woodstock. You guys were like the Woodstock of PE in the rain. I love that. All right. Well, and like you said, we could probably talk about PE forever and ever. And so.
Oh, for sure.
So
you guys get to kind of.
Yeah. So join, dear audience, and if you have never tried PE before, you're still an undergrad or a grad student, do it. In the immortal words of Katrina Marie, do it. Oh, all right. Yeah. So let's segue awkwardly, if we may, into the big three, what we call the big three. So we want to hear your favorite joke or something that just makes you laugh. Secondly, she's shaking her head already. Secondly, a favorite quote, something that's meaningful to you as a quote. And then number three, a favorite song. Now, I know you're a musician, so I'm going to give you three. Give us three favorite pieces of music or songs. So let's go back. Number one, what's your favorite joke?
Joke. Oh goodness, I'm so bad at telling jokes. Let's come back to that.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Let's come back to that. But for
and
quote,
we can even pass on that if you want. Yes, quote.
let's see. I don't know about, like, I always get so under pressure when people say favorite. I'm just like, this isn't locked in. Like, this is just something I like, something that struck me.
You know what? Okay, so
pressure.
you're my right. You're my fellow moon child. I'm going to rephrase it. I'm going to say it this way. What's something that speaks to you today, and something new may speak to you tomorrow, but what's something that speaks to you today?
So I was reading this book, Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know. It's just like really a fun collection of like random stories and poems and all sorts of things. But this just stuck out to me. I thought it spoke to kind of things that I anticipated we'd be talking about today. It says, I am an example of a specific way of spending time and feeling existence in this world. And yeah, I just really like that, because I was just like, I feel like that's everybody. Everybody's an example of like a specific experience, and that's why it's like so cool when we all come together. It's like it's more colorful. If it's just like one experience, it's like, not that it's bad, not that something that's just one person's experience is bad, but like, I don't know, I just like that coming together. I feel like it lights up like this collective of all our experiences, like PE.
And certainly when you have your personal experience that you're having, it changes when it interacts with someone else's experience. So I think that's a powerful quote. All right, so give us not one, not two, but three, if you want, three favorite pieces of music that really resonate with you as of today. Tomorrow it might change.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go with something first contemporary. So there's this band called Khruangbin, and they like are alternative, and it's just like really, they just came out with a new album that dropped on my birthday. But and anyway, it's so light and breezy. It just feels good, and I feel like that's something that was like so needed in quarantine, to feel like they could put something on and it feels like a sigh. Like it just feels really good. So I don't know, a lot of their music is like very movable and fun like that. And then if I'm in a mood to sing, I don't know, I really gravitate towards like R&B or old school music, if you will. So, but like, I'm gonna say another contemporary artist is Snow Allegra. She's like a Swedish singer, has like this beautiful buttery voice. Love her. So that's always a good time. And then I don't know about on a third, because it's like there's so many moods it could go. I think we're going to leave it at those two. We're going to leave it at those two. You should check them out. I gave you a broad enough things.
You did. Now what? Now give us a specific song for each artist.
For Khruangbin, I know that one's probably kind of hard. Khruangbin, their song called Time, You and I. It like literally sounds like you're being like blasted back into the 1970s and should be like on roller skates. It's great. So I just like that one for like the energy of like dancing around. It's like a lot of really positive energy. And then for Snow Allegra, the song called Walls. Again, like I said, when I'm listening to her, it's because I like to sing along with it. And that song is so like dramatic, and like I just like singing it because it's so dramatic, and yeah, it's fun. So
I love it.
That is that.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing those. We're going to put those up, aren't we? Fernando will add those to the links underneath the YouTube interview with you.
Yeah, if I do a decent job, you know.
So I'll tell you what, lovely audience. As we're wrapping this up, thank you so much for joining us for CSUN Performance Ensemble Presents a Conversation with, and today it was with Trina Villagran. Did I do that right, Trina?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So kind, she wouldn't even correct me anyway. But you are awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. And so my name is Jefferson Denim. I'm one of the co-hosts.
And I'm the other co-host, Fernando Martinez.
Right. And so we want to end here with a quote of our own. This is from Irving Wallace. To be one's self and unafraid, whether right or wrong, is more admirable than the easy cowardice of surrender to conformity. So be you. That's what the world desperately needs. The authentic, real you. We're so glad that you tuned in, that you were with us today. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.